Ladies and gentlemen, there's a noise off in the distance. Right now, it's just this slow, pulsating, consistent drum beat. But as time unfolds and the day draws closer, it's going to get louder, it's going to get more insistent, and it's going to be upon us. The Royal Rumble is now 2 weeks away, and we are at Wrestling with Egos savoring the anticipation. Welcome once again to another rollicking episode of Wrestling with Egos, your source for your wrestling infotainment for the week. My name is Brian, the intellectual savior of the wrestling masses. Thank you as always for joining us. Right now, I am joined this week by the big man, Isaac Smith. Good sir. What's the good word?
Oh, I'm excited. I know we're leading up to the Rumble. I'm excited about a couple things we're going to be talking about tonight, and everything is all good. Let's get this going. We got a lot to talk about.
Everything is all good. However you are consuming our show, we thank you for doing so. Whether you're watching us on the YouTubes or you're listening to us on Amazon, Anchor, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, or Spotify, and the OG Intergalactic Radio, by the way, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for making us an important part of your wrestling week. However you're listening to us or watching us, make sure you like it, subscribe to it, share it, leave that 5-star review. Your feedback, as I've said oftentimes, makes us better. Your interaction with the show is much appreciated. We wanted to start tonight by addressing some current events that have slipped under the radar over the past couple of weeks as we've been fixated on the Iggy Awards, which is up now, by the way. If you have not seen it yet, and the 31 wardrobe changes and the general hilarity that ensues, that's up there. And then our preparation for the Rumble.
Stripping on camera the entire time.
Yeah. There's been a couple of departures that have happened over the past several weeks in the world of wrestling, and this is a part of disseminating this information that I'm not necessarily a fan of. And it's one of the things that, as I get up there in years, I don't like, because I'm seeing the people that I've looked up to over the years pass on in terms of actors and singers and poets and playwrights, and in this case, wrestlers and wrestling personalities. Isaac, I will give the floor to you, because it was either, and the date escapes me and I apologize, but at the end of 2022 or the very beginning of 2023, we lost Don West. And could you please educate the Wrestling with Egos family about who Don West is?
Don West was an announcer for TNA and Impact Wrestling. He was very well loved in the wrestling community. He passed on January 2nd, 2023. We did not acknowledge him in last week's Wrestling with Egos because we had some other things that we needed to discuss. As you well know, I said last week, you gotta be patient with us because there was a lot of things that we needed to touch base on, and a lot of things that we were not going to be able to get to at that moment. And this is one of the things that did happen. We do want to acknowledge it. We don't want to sweep him under the rug like he did not matter, because he did, and he was a big part of the atmosphere and everything that happened with wrestling.
What would you say his style of commentary was? Was he more of the information and facts kind of person? You know, kind of like an Excalibur would be now on AEW, or did he get more like pumping up and, you know, animated the way Jim Ross would?
He's more animated.
Okay.
That person, but very likable. And he was one of the reasons why I watched Impact, because of just him and his style. Very good person, very well loved in the wrestling community. So I only want to wish him His, rest in peace to him and his family. My condolences, and to anyone that knew him directly. We want to give our best to all of them, and also we also want to acknowledge another wrestler that just passed. Some of you may know him as Jay Briscoe. I personally don't know his real name, and Brian could probably say who that was. Um, but he was part of the Briscoe brothers from Impact or Ring of Honor. He was he had just recently he was just recently in the dog collar match against FTR, and they had won the tag team belts. Where that's gonna go, we'll deal with that later. He was in a car accident, um, and we want to send our deepest condolences to their family, friends, and also to the wrestling community of the many people have interacted with the Briscoes. So we wanted to start that off and make sure that we acknowledge that. And we were going to go into a couple other things.
I
That we
think the car accident, I feel like, was on Tuesday, because it was Wednesday morning when I happened to pull up Bleacher Report, and I saw a litany of tweets that they would post, from their feed. You know, the Seth Rollins posted something. Claudio Castagnoli posted something. Eddie Kingston posted something, and the list goes on and on and on of, personal memories of wrestling with him or wrestling alongside of him. And there was even a press release from Tony Khan, and Tony referenced Jay's real name, Jermaine Pugh. There was an Instagram post of him during the pandemic. He was rehearsing a cheerleading routine with his young daughter in the living room, which I thought was really endearing, really cute. And it's interesting with me and the Briscoes, because I've gotten to know them also almost exclusively through Twitter. I follow them on Twitter, so whenever they would post a video like from the garage after a workout or some of that, where they'd be cutting a promo on somebody, those were as real and hard hitting as any promos I've ever seen in my life. We can talk about who gives the greatest wrestling promo. You have to talk about the Briscoes, because the energy and the passion and the belief and the fortitude and any other adjective you want to throw out there oozes through the screen when you're watching them. And as Isaac just got done mentioning, their trilogy of matches last year with FTR, each one upping the ante from the previous one, and a litany of other matches. I mean, you name the promotion. Pretty much the only promotion they didn't work in is WWE, because they were in Impact, they were in Ring of Honor, they were in New Japan, they were all over the place. And everywhere they went, they delivered the match of the night in most cases. Because I can remember reading the Young Bucks book a couple of years ago. There was a big section of it devoted to Jay and Mark Briscoe. And the other night on Dynamite, when the Bucks wrestled Top Flight, they had the armbands on, and they did the Doomsday Device in honor of the Briscoes. So it's never easy when you lose somebody that you really, really like and respect. And it's very evident from all the tributes that came out how much respect Jermaine Pugh had in the and continues to have in the wrestling business.
Absolutely.
So we want to acknowledge those passings. We never like delivering news like that. It's not why we love wrestling, but we wouldn't be doing our duty if we let more time pass before we made mention of it. never easy to transition out of that into something else. But Isaac, on a much happier note, there was something that you wanted to give WWE props for that happened on the turn of the calendar with the new year. If you want to expound on that.
Okay, normally you guys know I almost bask in bashing the WWE for the things that they do. And a lot of times when, as I put it, they drop the ball. This one is not that time. They did what we would consider, what they did was they allowed a wrestler, which was Shinsuke Nakamura, to wrestle another wrestler that was not a member of the WWE at the time, which was the Great Muta. And if you are a wrestling fan and you don't know who the Great Muta is or don't know his body of work, I would say go back and look him up. He has, I don't even want to say how many matches that he's had with Sting, which have been like 5-star matches. His litany.
For the uninitiated, anybody that uses Mist has the Great Muta to thank for it.
Yes. Anyone that uses Mist. And he was phenomenal as a just pure wrestler. And the speed that he had then, which speed that he has now, which is unbelievable. But Shinsuke was allowed to face the Great Muta, which is one of the things that I love about wrestling. And that's why we love wrestling, because Triple H allowed this to happen. And I don't think that Vince, if he was in charge, would have allowed this to happen at the time. The Great Muta has at least a 30-year plus career in wrestling. So when I sit here and say that he's had wars with Sting, he had wars with Sting in WCW back in the early 90s. So he has had a very long-standing career, and that was his retirement match. And I just want to sit here and acknowledge, say to the WWE, thank you, Triple H, or whoever made that decision.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure Triple H had to sign off on it. But I do want to sit here and say thank you for allowing wrestling fans like myself to actually see that match. Because
I wonder, and it might be too early to wonder this, but I wonder if you might see more of that in the future, because you have, more than a few talents in WWE that have had great runs in other promotions. Balor, Styles, Nakamura, Gallows and Anderson, et cetera, et cetera. So I wonder if this might be the turning of a page on that, where you're not going to be able to go do it all the time because your primary duties are still for us. But, if you want to go wrestle in the G1, for example, in July, have at it. If you want to go, be in Wrestle Kingdom, night 1, night 2, that's fine. If you want to go to, I don't know which Mexican promotion has the better relationship with WWE, but if you want to go to AAA, for example, or CMLL, I'm sure, I bet if Patrick were here, he could answer that question. Patrick is slated to rejoin us next week. We're thinking of you, buddy. But I wonder if you might see a little bit more of that, because there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that wrestling is a family. You see all the tributes pouring in for Jay Briscoe. They go across promotions. It's not just Ring of Honor people acknowledging him. You had all the WWE people and the AEW people, showing him love and everything, and appreciating him for the impact that he had on their lives. So I wonder if you might see more of this in the future, to an extent.
Well, I wish that they would do a little bit more, more of this, but we know that in the past WWE has never really done something like this before. Um, other in the other case of another certain person who I'm just gonna throw it out here now, which they did with Mickey James and having her show up in the Rumble as she was the Impact Women's Champion and allowed her to come to the WWE and come out to Hardcore Country, her own personal song, and bring the Impact belt on WWE TV, which I didn't think they were actually going to let her do. But shout out to the WWE for doing the right thing. And I do need to, and this may be two times that I've said something nice about the WWE in one show. We'll mark that down and put that in the
Yeah,
archive.
mark it down on your bingo cards, boys and girls. That was a tough one to get, but we got it.
We got two. We'll go for three. I don't know yet. We're gonna go.
So, in the interest of equal time,
absolutely,
as both you and KD brought up in our post-show meeting last week, we booked the men's rumble last week, or at least I did, and you guys chimed in with your suggestions and things you liked and things you didn't like. I thought we would do the same thing with the women this week. Now, we can do this one of two ways, Isaac, and you're kind of calling the dance card on this one. Because I actually have now a 1 to 30 constructed list of the women, which I did not have last week with the guys. I just had a Mod Podge with random numbers, and much to my chagrin, I had 3 guys at number 7, which Isaac told me in the pre-show meeting tonight, you can't do that. That's not how we do things around here. It's not anarchy in the UK. It's the Rumble. Don't mess with my Rumble.
Just so you guys know, on Wrestling with Ears, we do know how to count. I just want to put it out there. We do know how to count. And there's not 3 sevens and all the rest of that stuff. And if we got 3 sevens, we're going to Vegas. That's all I'm saying.
So I can either go through 1 to 30 on the women, and you can let me know what you think.
Absolutely.
Or I can pose some questions first to lead us in a certain direction, much like I did with the guys last week.
Absolutely. Let's start off with the questions, and then we'll go into who you have. And then I got a couple other people I'm thinking about too. So I will chime in, and we'll go from there.
So my first question then is, if you're booking the Rumble with an eye towards WrestleMania, then the question you have to ask is, A, are Charlotte and Bianca going to retain their championships coming out of the Rumble? And if they are, who's going to face them at Mania? Who do you want to earmark for that? Because that's going to determine, a little bit about what matches do we shoot off of that? How many women's matches do we want in the 2 nights of Mania? I would say at least we could do 3 or 4.
I say 4. I say that they're going to have 4 matches.
Because I feel like you're going to have a tag match, and you're not going to have a mod. I don't want 70 tag teams in a round robin thing. What I think they might be getting ready to do there is give Ronda and Shayna a run with the tag belts, which might be about as much of Ronda Rousey as I'm willing to tolerate right now, to be honest with you. So if you're going to do that, you need somebody to face off against them, which is probably Dakota and Io Sky, because Damage Control is the tag champs right now. And then Charlotte's going to need a match. Bianca's going to need a match, assuming you want them to keep the belts coming out of the Rumble. And then you might need one more tentpole match, involving Becky or something like that. So I guess that's my first question then. Do you want Charlotte and Bianca to retain at the Rumble, first of all?
I think that Bianca and Charlotte will both retain at the Rumble. I think Charlotte has had the title not that long that she needs to keep the title to make it a little bit more relevant. Especially going into the night after WrestleMania. Something's gonna pop off. Someone's gonna show up. We all know the night after WrestleMania is like Christmas,
Right.
and the problem with it is we don't know what we're gonna get underneath the tree, and we're all surprised, and we're all gonna go, "Oh my God!" That's what's gonna happen. I believe that Charlotte should probably face Bailey or Becky, but we've gone back and forth with Becky and Bailey, so Becky and Charlotte so much. I'm thinking since Bailey came back, this is the chance to do it. Her against Charlotte, because they keep going back with Bailey and not Naomi, but
Well,
I'm
for a
sorry.
while it was Bailey, Becky, Charlotte, Sasha. It was only those four. And you're kind of actually leading me down to my next point, believe it or not. When I constructed my 1 through 30, I realized there's a lot of depth here. And that's, become a calling card of mine. I want depth in my women's division. And some names are popping out at me of people who it's time to find out what you actually have in them.
What?
I think so. And to that end, I only have one person on my list that you could call a legend. And she's going to come in near the end. So see if you can spot who I'm talking about. My first five, I've got Liv Morgan at 1, Gigi Dolan at 2, Zelina Vega at 3, Ronda Rousey 4, Mia Yim 5. I put Liv at 1 because we need to rehab her a little bit. She got dragged through the mud with that feud with Ronda Rousey. She cashed in Money in the Bank, but then didn't look strong as a champion at all. Ronda ragdolled her every chance she got. It wasn't a very good run. We need to see whether we, get her away from Ronda and see what we have there. So Liv probably is the Iron Woman of this thing.
Okay.
She's not my winner though.
That's fine. We'll go through the winners. We'll go through the winners later. That's fine.
And I have Asuka at 6.
Okay.
Nikki Cross at 7.
Okay.
Mako Satomura at 8. She's in NXT right now, but she'll show up. Dana Brooke 9. Raquel Rodriguez 10.
I expect Raquel Rodriguez to go pretty far and probably be in the top, be one of the final 4, if I was concerned.
Then I got Sonya Deville at 11, Shotzi at 12, Zoe Stark at 13, Lacey Evans at 14, and Carmella at 15. Lacey Evans is another one. What do we have there?
And she's coming back from injury too.
Yes.
So yes, I agree. I thought about that as well. I think Lacey is going to be one of the last 10. I don't know if she's going to be in the final 4, but she's going to look very, very strong and eliminate a lot of people out of that Rumble.
Then I have Shayna at 16. All 3 members of Damage Control coming up back to back to back. Io Sky at 17, Dakota Kai 18, Bayley 19. And then Alba Fire, who people might not know is the formerly known as Kaylee Ray when she was in NXT UK at number 20. I would love to see her win the whole thing.
Okay.
Because she's kind of lost in the shuffle in NXT right now.
She's lost in the shuffle because she's putting someone else over.
Right. Then I got Tegan Knox at 21. My only legend is Victoria at 22.
Victoria.
I'm trying to remember the last time we saw her, and I don't remember when that was. But I'm like...
It was 2019. It was the 2019 Rumble.
Okay.
That was the one that was actually in the Dome in Florida, and she came out.
Right.
She had some issues with the WWE, and no one could really say what the issues were. And she's like, I didn't do anything. Even when she went to a house to like Monday Night Raw and just hung out in the in the crowd and was invited to go back, they're like, you got to leave, and they still didn't understand why they kicked her out.
Because I just went through the alumni page and like, okay, who's a name that is kind of off the beaten path a little bit? Because I think we've done Trish Stratus to death, we've done Kelly Kelly to death, we've done Molly Holly to death, and so on and so forth. But then I've got Tamina 23, Becky Lynch 24, Candice LeRae 25, Natty at 26. I'm not calling her Dewdrop anymore. I'm calling her Piper Niven. Thank you very much. At 27.
I was about to say Dewdrop better be in there. Well, go ahead.
And then JC Jane at 28, Indy Hartwell at 29, and Rhea Ripley at 30.
That sounds about right.
Indy Hartwell, I think, has done all she can do in NXT.
I agree.
I don't know that you necessarily want to give her the women's championship in NXT. Although she'd be a good foil for Roxanne Perez at some point, but still, I mean, I feel like it's time to see what some of these gals can do up on the main roster.
I agree.
I still don't know that I still don't have a stone cold lock for who I'd want to win. I would love to see Alba Fire win because Charlotte's, I guess, considered a babyface right now. Right. So maybe Kaylee Ray Alba Fire wins the Rumble and steps to Charlotte. That could be interesting. Because she could take Charlotte some places. Right. We all know this. We all know like how great she's been over in the UK and in the States. So she could take Charlotte some places she might not be willing to go. And then maybe you spin somebody else off to wrestle Bianca, or maybe the Alexa Bliss thing continues through Mania. I don't know.
Okay, I see that.
So it's still murky for me. It's not as well defined, I think, as the guys were last week.
Okay, I thought about this and I was looking through the roster as well. We did see Beth Phoenix last year or 2 years ago when Edge came back. And I think it's a little too soon because we're like, oh, we see Beth again. One person we haven't seen wrestle in a while is Maurice. And that is another person I thought about putting in there as a sort of legend because she's a former champion.
Yes.
Numerous times over. We have not seen her wrestle in a while. And individually separate from The Miz. And that's why I thought she might slip in there.
Because the last time we saw her on TV, she was trying to like stop Maurice no, she was trying to stop the Judgment Day from beating up Edge. I'm sorry that I thought because you could get a mixed tag at Mania with Maurice and Miz versus Edge and Beth, but that's not the feud.
Like I said, that was the last time that we really saw Maurice. So I thought about that, putting her in. Like, we haven't seen her in a while. She still is officially on the active roster. That was something that I thought about. So okay, let's think about Maurice. Everything that you have said, I thought about. I was like, that's some good ideas. Some other people that I kept thinking about. I don't know if they're really ready to go, but Natalya. We need to think about Emma. We need to get in there.
And she was on my original list, and I realized I did not put her in here because Emma was somebody that I thought could have been an Iron Woman.
The rest,
I might take out Tamina and put Emma in there, or take out Zoe Stark and put Emma in there.
Who else was I? A lot of the other ones I thought were not ready. That still hadn't developed their character enough to be in there. I thought maybe Nikita Lyons, because
Okay.
that's I'm really loving her right now. Um, I thought as an alternative, maybe Scarlett, because we really haven't seen her wrestle. That might be something we might want to think about. Um, but you know, someone, the super wild card that no one's even going to talk about is Naomi. Did they fix it? Whatever.
I
And I know
purposely left her off because I think the night after, either the night after the Rumble or the
the
night
night
after Mania.
Mania.
Maybe one of these girls, like, I don't know who I'd rather see her measure up with. Because if Naomi comes back, like, what does she come back as? Heel or face? My guess is face. But you've got two face champions right now, technically, with Charlotte and Bianca.
But you bring her back and put her in the bloodline.
Could.
I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm thinking.
And that's not a very big leap because she could say something like, I was feeling the glow and it didn't look where it got me. And now I realize that blood is thicker than water.
We could go down that. We could go down that road. And that's what there's a couple other names I thought about. Keanu James is looking really nice. Lash Legend I thought about. Stuff was like, I don't think she's ready yet. Saray, thought about her for a second. I don't know. But I'm throwing out these names because we all know that we're gonna be like, really? They brought this person up? For real? But that's what I wanted to do.
And it brings me to the other point that I wanted to advance. I feel like sometimes there's some rumbles where WWE is over reliant on the legends. And they forget about all the people that are on the active roster that are looking for a showcase. That's why when I go back and look at the men, I only have two legends on that list, John Cena and X-Pac. And in one case, I'm using Cena to set up a match with Austin Theory at WrestleMania because that seems to be the direction everybody thinks they're headed in. And I only have one real or two real injury returns. I've got Cody Rhodes at 28 and I've got Edge at 30. Because Edge is probably gearing up for something. I don't know what. Maybe we get some kind of a knockdown drag out between Edge and Finn Balor at WrestleMania. I don't know because I feel like he still might owe him. But all the names that we've been rattling off, the Royal Rumble is at its best when it's making new stars. When people are doing things that were like, my God, did you see that? And I'm not talking about Kofi staving off elimination by pogoing on a chair. I'm talking about somebody like a Santos Escobar coming in at number 7 and lasting all the way to the end. Going for 45 minutes and opening some eyeballs. Somebody like Liv Morgan lasting until the final 4 and reminding everybody, I can wrestle. I know what I'm doing. I'm not just a lovable underdog kind of thing. I know what I'm doing in here. Somebody like Alba Fire coming from out of nowhere because you're not paying attention, and being shrewd and being manipulative and that kind of thing. And now she can step to Charlotte or she can step to Bianca, and it's a fresh matchup that we've never seen before.
I agree.
Because I was very cagey on purpose with that women's list. Because that's one thing we have decried WWE about in the past is the horsewoman and Asuka, the horsewoman and Asuka, the horsewoman and Asuka, like some form of that. And some of the rancor from fans is like, we've seen this already. We've seen Charlotte versus Becky. We've seen Bayley versus Becky. We've seen Bayley versus Charlotte. When Sasha was there, she was in the equation too. Ronda's not fresh anymore. The bloom is off that rose. It's time to see what you have in some of these other people. Zelina Vega. my goodness, she's so much more than just a mouthpiece for Legado del Fantasma.
She was a queen. Well,
yeah, I know.
Right.
But there's more to it than just that. My God, if Piper Niven were let loose, if you don't believe me, go back and look at some of her stuff in the Indies.
Yeah, exactly.
WWE has it on the network. I forget which promotion she was part of before she came to NXT UK. I don't remember if it was Progress Wrestling or something like that, but she was the focal point. She was one of the go-to women in that promotion.
She was one of the pillars.
Yes. And then, like I said, the people that you need to find out what you have in them already. What do you have in Liv Morgan? What do you have in Lacey Evans? What do you have in Candice LeRae? I feel like Candice has just been a supporting part for way too long. She could be the one to step to Bianca or Charlotte, and I'd be all for it. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see. And it's really easy to sit here and, I'm not trying to make this sound like it's easy. Because in the span of like 15 minutes, we've done all these permutations, and all of our listeners' heads are probably spinning. So that's why we are definitely interested to see what happens going forward. If I had to say to you, Isaac, right now, pick a men's and a women's winner, who would you pick? And why?
In my heart, my mind's telling me that Damage Control is going to be a big faction coming into this year, and Bayley is going to have to eventually get that title. She's either going to have to, someone's going to have to drop a belt to her at WrestleMania. That's in my heart of hearts. My mind is telling me that Liv Morgan needs to do something to come out on top and come out really, really well at the Rumble. My heart and my mind is telling me the winner of your 2023 Royal Rumble women's match, Raquel Rodriguez.
That's interesting. She's another name where you need to figure out what you have, because there's been a lot of stop and start with her.
That's where I'm going with her. She needs to have that belt, solidify it, and then go from there. Who you got, B?
For the women, I cannot get away from Alba Fire for some reason. And I know she's not going to win, but I cannot get away from her.
That's a solid guess. And I'm more than happy to sit here and say you have
It wouldn't surprise me, though, if Rhea Ripley won. Especially if she comes out in a late number, like I have her at number 30. If she came out like 24, 26, 28, and just started picking people off. Because you saw her step to Solo Sikoa last week and not flinch. And she was backing Solo down, quite honestly. I'm sorry. Thought of her in this incarnation as a women's champion. Imagine what that does now to Judgment Day. You could be seeing Judgment Day holding all the gold at some point. You could see Finn as Intercontinental Champion. It's very possible. You could see or Finn and Priest as tag champs, and Rhea as the women's champ, and then Dominic just kind of sneering, look at my mommy, she's got that gold and all that kind of stuff.
That's where I say it doesn't really work. The reason being, if Rhea has that title, it takes away from Dominic, the shine that they go back and forth with.
Right.
It doesn't look right.
Now she's her superior. She's his superior.
Yeah. The problem,
I mean, she's kind of his superior anyway.
We know.
It's like it's like giving it side eye as opposed to like putting it right in your face kind of thing.
And I think that Dominic eventually is going to have to face Ray at WrestleMania. and he's going to need Mommy there. Mommy can't be sitting here focusing on the women's title,
right?
Unless they're doing it on night 1 and night 2. But then that's still, doesn't look right. And then
that's why I have Ray coming out at 12 and Dominic at 27 in the men's. Ray lasting a long time, and then Dominic just comes and like dumps Dad over the top rope, and there's your Mania match.
I keep saying that there's got to be. I think in my heart.
If you're going to ask me which match would then have the most pressure on it to deliver at WrestleMania, that's right up there. Because it's time to see how far Dominic has come and how much he's learned.
You got this. The problem with that is you can't have just one person. You just can't have, like the Enforcer with being Rhea Ripley, have the title, and then you have nothing else for the rest of the group because no one else is getting any title shots. And they're not going to, and like the only person that can actually has legitimacy to hold the world title, we all know is your boy Finn. And they're not going to give it to Finn, and they're not going to do that when they're trying right now to try to reform the Hurt Business and quite possibly add, the Street Profits to that, along with Almost and Shelton and Bobby and everybody else, and that would go up against the Bloodline eventually. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to stack it, and just trying to slow play it. We can see it, and this is what they're probably going to try to end up doing. And will Bobby win the Rumble? It's possible. It's not something that I don't think it's gonna work right now. I mean, the person that's got the hotness, we all know is Seth. But I mean, those are just things I'm throwing out there.
See, I didn't even put Lashley on the list, and I don't know why I didn't put Lashley on here. I think I thought I had him pegged for another match. Like I thought there was another match announced at the Rumble for him. I'm probably wrong on that. Or wait, no, isn't he challenging?
He's challenging for the U.S. title.
Yeah, it's going to be a triple. No.
It's just going to be him.
It's him in Theory. So Theory can't be in the Rumble then. Or he can't. See, and that's the other thing. I'm not doing double duty. I'm trying to avoid that. So.
But they've done that before. They did that a couple of years ago with Brock Lesnar.
I know. I don't like that though, because that gets back to my point. You have all these guys that are in your employ. You don't need anybody doing double duty.
I agree, but the WWE does things unconventional. They always. I know. And they don't do things the way we would do them. And then you don't sit here and see, oh my God, I can't believe they actually had this person show up.
So you're saying I shouldn't cross out Austin Theory at number 3 and put Otis in his place?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Because I didn't have a spot for Otis, but
that's what I'm saying.
That's why we call them predictions sure to go wrong, boys and girls. Anything else that you want to get out there before we shove off into the sunset, good sir?
Okay, there's a couple other names I keep throwing out like, oh my God, this just came to me. Okay, so I'm going to sit here and throw some names out. Some are going to be, others are going to be like, I see you on this. Now, I know that the men's, it's always, they need to expand the men's to 40 because there's a lot of people that you can throw in. Now, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm saying they should. And I mean,
I'll say it again. Don't mess with my Rumble.
Now, I thought about some special guests. We talked about who we thought should be in the Rumble a little bit last week. And I thought about it, and I threw out some names, and I said to myself, that actually could work. And I said, last week, one of the legends could be JBL, because he has been seeing, it is in Texas. So it would seem that might coincide. I also thought about some other people from Texas that I didn't think about until tonight. Now, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to throw it out. Yes, I am going to say it. Go ahead, get mad. I'm going to say the name. Why? Because we're in Texas. Everyone keeps saying that he is in the best shape of his life. They were all thinking, is he going to have one more match at WrestleMania? So I'm going to say it. I know it's going to be people are going to get upset. I don't care what you think. This is my version. This is what I want to see. Is it going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin? Is he going to show? That time. Give me a second. Also from Texas. What you need to think about, Shawn Michaels. Can he have one more match? Now look, we all sit here and say it's a one and done, but it's Shawn Michaels. I also want to throw this out here and say this. This is a curveball that we didn't think about. Co-commentator, Bad News Barrett. He can go. He is ready. That's something to think about. Throwing in another name. Just think about, Stevie Richards or something like that. Don't see it. You don't see it. You haven't seen him anywhere in a while. That's just something they might think about doing. B, I think your mic's off.
I don't remember muting myself. Sorry.
See, he wanted to let me actually speak, and I appreciate that. Thank you, B.
Here's the question with Stevie Richards: Blue World Order Stevie Richards or Right to Censor Stevie Richards?
EWO, I think.
Okay.
They did Right to Censor. They did Right to Censor with what's her face? A couple years ago. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
Jeez,
not what is her name?
It's not Miss
Tori. It's not Ivory.
Thank you. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to look. If you want to see anyone else come out, you want to see, from Right to Censor, the opposite version, you want to see the Godfather, but he showed up. That was years ago. I thought about, I don't know if he's still under contract with AEW, but Miro, he ain't doing nothing.
Miro is still under contract with AEW.
He's still under contract. I apologize. I thought about this and said, would they roll the dice on Jeff Hardy? It's a one-off. That's all I'm saying.
Nope. As far as, and I hate to say this, but as far as I'm concerned, Jeff is radioactive.
I understand.
He needs to get right before. And it's easier said than done, and I get it. I don't mean to belittle addiction and that sort of thing. That's not what I'm out here to do. But
I understand that Jeff is going through a lot right now, and he may have to get himself together like Jake the Snake Roberts did before he was able to come back to WWE TV and then being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And hopefully Jeff is doing better. We wish him the best and hope that he does better. That's all I'm saying about that, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that, I'm not picking a Royal Rumble winner right now for the men's side. I'm just excited to see what they're going to do and how it's going to come out.
I mean, this is a slam dunk for me. I think Cody wins it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Cody comes out at a late number, like 28, 29. I don't think it would be smart to have him come out early, because I don't think he has anything to prove in that regard. I know he would probably want to say, give me number 2 or give me number 4 or give me number 1 or whatever like that. But
they're not going to give him 1. They're not going to give him 10. They're going to get him in the late. And you're right. It is a slam dunk because it does look like Cody is going to be the guy to take down Roman Reigns. And they're going to finally break up everything next year. This year.
Imagine for a second. There's another name that I keep looking at. Imagine if somehow Sami Zayn won the Royal Rumble.
Jesus Christ. Let Sami come out at number 30.
I have him at 25. you know. And I have Solo Sikoa at 18, so there could be a team up there of some sort where, because Solo could last 7 spots.
Yeah, that's true.
It's gonna take a heck of an effort to get him over the top rope. Anyway,
I hear what you're saying. I mean, I still think it's a slam dunk.
I'm not saying I want to book that necessarily, because that complicates things, because the tea leaves say it's going to be, the Elimination Chamber being in Montreal. That's when Sammy's going to face Roman.
I got a feeling that it's going to be Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens facing the Usos for the tag belts, and they may have to blow it up right after Mania.
Yeah. So
I'm throwing things out here, people. I know Patrick. No, this is what's going to happen, and here's the reason why. I'm saying there's going to be.
I have one question for you to wrap things up tonight.
Go ahead.
Are you proud of me?
B. I'm very proud of you. This is
because at no point during the proceedings that I mentioned the guy over my left shoulder.
Even though they're saying that he's going to show up.
And that's all he needs to do. And he doesn't even need to do it at the Rumble. If you're going to do Rock Roman in any iteration for anything, I'm going to be. We'll make this our final thought for the evening. This Monday is the 30th anniversary of Raw. And part of the proceedings is a acknowledgement ceremony of the tribal chief, where multiple generations of the bloodline are going to be appearing. Now, you can take that however you want to take that. You can take it as they're going to run it back where Alpha and Sika come out and put the laurels around Roman's neck, and we're going to extol the virtues of the tribal chief, and Paul Heyman is going to deliver one of his many robust and grandiloquent soliloquies like he always does. And maybe zero mention of The Rock will be made. There's your opening. The Rock can just be like sitting back and saying, okay, that's fine. Because all he has got to do, and I'm not saying I necessarily want him to, because let's face it, boys and girls, The Rock he was born in 1972. So yes, that makes him north of 50. If he wrestles Roman, Roman is going to execute a beatdown on the man. Rock will get his stuff in, but Rock is not going to win that match under any circumstances. Do I want to see it? No, because that time has come and gone. But if it were going to happen, all The Rock would have to do is pick a night, show up, walk out to the top of the ramp and interrupt Roman or Paul or all of the above. And it could be another situation like Triple H and The Undertaker all those years ago, where no words were spoken, but there was just a look. In fact, I think I would like that even more. Because I've been made fun of numerous times on this show. Because The Rock, for people, The Rock's got a look on his wrist for his promo notes and crap like that. That could be another moment with Triple H and The Undertaker where no words have to be spoken, because you know what the other guy is thinking. All you need is a stare down.
I agree with you on that, and there have been many a time when certain things didn't have. You don't need to hype certain things up. The fact of it is, if you had Rock versus Roman, you ain't got to say nothing. Like we said before.
Just
you don't
need something else. You know what there hasn't been yet from WWE? There has not been any mention of Hall of Fame inductees yet. If this is the year that The Rock goes into the Hall of Fame, that might tip your hand a little bit. That if The Rock's going to be there anyway to go into the Hall of Fame, then we might as well have a match between him and Roman on night 1 or night 2 or whatever.
Is this 39 or 40?
This is 39, and it's in Holly. It's out in California. I don't think the number of Mania matters.
I think it does. I think the fact that if Rock goes in this year, whoever wrestled, I think I look at it as Cody does not win the Rumble. Someone else wins the Rumble. They face Roman. Roman beats the crap out of him. And then The Rock comes down on night 1, looks at him and says, I want you tomorrow night. And The Rock goes up against Roman on night 2. It's something you don't think about, but that's something that might happen. Because if you're in Hollywood, if you got Rock versus Roman, that's WrestleMania 40 right there. That's your lead-in. For a full year, you already have the main event. They did that.
40 isn't in Hollywood.
But they're in Hollywood. And I'm saying, what I keep thinking, it's not going to, if that's what they want to do, Rock shows up at the end of the night, says, let's go right now. And Roman's like, your tribal chief has spoken. He's going to look at his tribal chief and be like, he's going to look at him and say, you know, hell no, we ain't happening. Crazier things have happened.
Yeah.
And this will be the time to do it. You don't see that coming. If he's there, I mean, we didn't see that Rock was going to show up at WrestleMania that one year that he had Ronda Rousey in the ring with him, because he did Saturday Night Live the night before. He took a red eye and got out there the next day. No one saw that coming.
Right.
I'm saying
it makes you wonder. I mean, and this is the beautiful part of this time of year. We certainly don't, take out the microscope and dissect the frog like this for, September pay-per-views and whatnot. I mean, this is the time of year where the speculation runs rampant. Maybe they're going to do this. Maybe they're going to do that. And we would love to hear from all of y'all about what you think is going to happen, what you think they should do, what you think they will do, what kind of swerves do we have coming, because we know they're coming. So thank you, as always, for tuning in, making us a part of your wrestling week. Until we meet again, for Isaac the Big Man, for our co-hosts who are in absentia this week, Katie and Patrick, for everyone associated with the show, we want to say thank you, all our best to you. And remember, topics like this are definitely why we love professional wrestling. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys. Love you.